Hello, my name is Helen Bryant. I'm the creator of GrowThink, an online learning business that is here to help you learn the skills to thrive in your career. As I speak to you now, we have just gone back into lockdown here in the UK. So we are all working virtually and it can be quite challenging and difficult. It's a beautiful winter's day here, yet we're all in our personal workspaces. And that's when difficult conversations tend to be put off even more. In this video, I am going to go through the skills of having a difficult conversation, especially when you're working virtually. Why do these conversations that you need to have become difficult? Quite often it is because you and another person might have a different point of view about how something is done. And that particularly becomes true when you're talking like cross-function or cross-team, where the priorities may be slightly different. It could be that you have a really different style to the other individual, that you just go about doing things in really different ways. And ultimately, what happens is a lack of trust starts to exist between you. And it's really easy to fall down that wormhole of, building a whole narrative about how this person is against you or against the project or being distracting. As a consequence, we then get that anxious feeling and we're not confident about having that conversation. And all too often, in not having the conversation, actually we cause more problem. And I think that's a really good mindset to have. The reactive mindset allows problems to fester. The first thing in having confidence in facing into a difficult conversation is to think of yourself as a proactive problem solver. You and this person need to get past this barrier in order that you work better together. So proactivity is a really great starting point. Don't let it linger. You're just letting the problem get worse and worse. Be proactive. So being proactive, first, stop and get clear on what is the problem. You need to think it through. Why is this a problem? And being open-minded and working out for yourself, why does this person have a different view to you? Do you know? And if not, that's one of the first things you need to find out from them when you talk to them. Accepting that they may have a different view to you and it may be a very valid reason that they are sharing is a really good starting point in resolving any issue between you. You need to assess the facts. So try and remove your emotions and think it through calmly and objectively. What is the issue? Why has it arisen? And then the second thing to do is to focus on a solution. So from your point of view, what would be a good resolution of this issue? Remember, you may not know the real answer yet because you haven't had that discussion. So first step, stop, think it through, get clear. Secondly, focus on the solution. The third step is to manage your emotions. And even acknowledging that you and indeed the other individual will have emotions running in this is the first step in being able to manage them. Now, you can't manage another person's emotions, but you can manage your own. Top tips on managing your emotions. The first thing to do is to think about what are your triggers. What are the things the person is likely to say and how do you normally respond, and work out how you're going to cope with it. Now, breath is your biggest friend when you're having a difficult conversation. Quite often when we get anxious, we start to breathe more shallowly, and that in its own gets our body worrying, and that fight or flight feeling starts to rise within us. The more we can breathe deeply during the conversation, the better we will be at being able to stay calm and manage our emotions. Obviously, this is a skill that really comes to play when you're in the conversation, but a good starting point is to practice breathing. If you know your triggers, know that is the point at which you're going to breathe deeply. So practice before you go into the conversation, just to breathe deeply. Really let that air get down low into your lungs so that you know what it feels like. And automatically you'll find that you will control your emotions and the way you speak so much more effectively. Now, the fourth thing to do is to make sure, even though we're working virtually, we remove as many barriers as possible of talking to each other. So camera on, a Zoom call or a Teams call where you can actually see each other. These conversations are hard enough, but removing all the other cues rather than just the voice makes it so difficult. So it's the next best thing. Obviously, if you're working in the same environment, it is worth sitting down, having that conversation face to face. But in these times of working virtually, go for camera. Now, in workshops, one of the biggest questions when we talk about having difficult conversations is, how do I start it off? And I think there is a tendency to want to script it. That will really restrict discussion and probably make it less easy for you to listen, because you'll get preoccupied with what you want to say. I think there are some good setup questions. So know how you're going to start the conversation, but then just know more or less directionally what the conversational flow is. And that's what I'm going to take you through now. So questions or statements that set up a difficult conversation needs to sort of both wave intent and the benefit of doing it. So acknowledging, for example, you might say, I'd like to talk about, what just happened in that meeting. I think we're coming at this problem from quite different points of view. And I'd like to just talk that over with you and understand your perspective. So you're keeping it nice and open with the goal of, we will talk this through and resolve it in the way that you set it up. I find the easiest way to do it then is to ask, what do you think? What's your view on this? What's your perspective? Now, I did a whole video, just the video before this one, but I'm going to set it up to come on after this one, all about really strong communication techniques, the power of questioning and active listening. And the hack I call the funnel, so that you really put attention into finding out as much as you can about any given topic. So if you're not confident on doing that, watch that video after this one. But that's what you need to do. You need to explore the topic with the individual and find out what their point of view is. And you need to really actively listen to what they say. Then share your view. From my perspective, this is what happened. Now, if you've heard things in what the person was saying that are bridges, connect them as you speak. But sometimes you just have to be able to confidently say, from my perspective, this is the situation. What are the issues? And what may be the implications of the situation from your perspective? Once you've understood both points of view, it's worth then having a strong two-way discussion on, okay, so what do you think we need to do? Where do we need to get to? And work on that together. So you may have some strong views about what the answer is, but actually it's really important at this point that you find a way that works for both parties. Always be focusing on a solution that's actionable and that you are aligned on. Now, often when you've had that good discussion of both ways, so much of the perceived issue has disappeared because you've both understood each other better. So it's much easier then to kind of get onto an action plan. And I would say at least 9 times out of 10, a difficult conversation will lead to a strong action plan once both sides have cleared the air, as it were, and understood each other better. At the end, summarize what you have both agreed, and really importantly, make sure you follow through. These are the really important steps in building future trust, the openness of the discussion, and then committing to and doing the actions that you agree, which are in a much better place to then build the level of trust as you progress forward. So the 5 steps of managing a difficult conversation are: first, a positive mindset, being proactive and stopping and getting clear about what the issues are and why they may be occurring. Secondly, focus on a solution. Start thinking about what you can do to resolve that situation. 3, work out how to manage your emotions, recognize your triggers And remember that breathing is your friend. 4, if you're doing this virtually, remove as many barriers as possible by having camera on so that you can see each other to have a good conversation. And then 5, manage the conversational flow so that you set it up well, focusing on a solution, that you ask lots of questions so that you really understand the other person's point of view. Share your view and build bridges between the 2 points of view and orientate your discussion to a solution, and then commit to doing that plan and make sure you follow through. Those 5 steps make a big difference. The thing you need to do, though, to really get confident in managing difficult conversations, which I assure you come up all the time through your career, so getting confident in handling them, is practicing. So if right now you have a topic that's been niggling away with you, maybe you want to give some feedback to your manager, or maybe you were in a meeting the other day and you have a really different point of view to someone else and it's starting to niggle you, practice. Arrange a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting with this person and resolve it. The more you practice, the more confident you will get in dealing even with the most challenging environment. Those nerves will never go away, but you just feel more confident being able to do it. If you have any comments or questions, please put them in the chat below. We'll be happy to answer them for you. If you know of anyone who you think would benefit from this YouTube, please share it and like and subscribe to our channel, where you'll get notified of each and every lesson that we release. By subscribing, you help other people find us, and we would be really grateful if you could help us do that. Until next week, we'll see you then.